Hey everyone, welcome back. So today we'll be taking a look at a game that I just played today. And this game was actually against a very high rated opponent. I played against an opponent rated 2168, so almost 2200. And so the game started off with e4, and we quickly went into a French defense. So he went d4, I went d5, and he played the classical with knight c3. And then here I like to play this this knight f6 system. I'm pretty sure I've actually uploaded a video where I was playing with the black pieces and I played this this knight f6 system. It's called the Steinitz variation. Anyway, so knight f6, and now usually there's two moves here. White can go either e5 or bishop g5, and my opponent went for bishop g5. And then I copied what he did. I went bishop e4. I'm not actually sure if this is theory. I haven't. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not familiar with this bishop g5 variation. I mostly encounter e5, but I felt like this looked like a decent move. I mean, basically he was threatening to win the pawn because my knight was pinned. So I just defend by guarding his knight, by pinning his knight to his king. Sorry. So I guard my center, and here it looks like e5 wins a piece, which he went for, but it doesn't because I have h6. And then here he went bishop d2, I believe. Excuse me. Yes, he went bishop d2. And then I played knight of d7. Yeah, so he played bishop d2, and then I went knight of d7. And now we are kind of transposing into the usual Steinitz, where there's f4, and then I go for c5, knight c6, and queen b6. But this seems like an improved version because I have h6 in. My bishop has already been developed. So, and the white dark squared bishop is on d2, which it usually doesn't want to be. This bishop usually wants to be on e3 in these lines, so to pressure my c5 pawn and to defend the center, and also blocks out the queen here, so not very good. So he went h3, and then I went bishop back to e7, and then he played f4. So this is like very similar to Steinitz, but it's playable. White is slightly better. White is 0.3, but I have pretty good chances here. So anyways, I went c5, he then went knight f3, I went knight c6, and then here he played, here he took, which is weird. Computer says it's fine, but as you can see it was 0.3, and after he takes it's 0.1, so it's playable though. And here I was debating taking with the knight, but then I figured that if I take with the knight, there might be b4, and then I just have to drop back, and I'm not making any progress. But if I take with the bishop on b4, opponent didn't go for b4, but if opponent was to play b4, I have bishop b6, and I'm just preventing the king from castling kingside, and he'd have to play something like queen e2 and bishop e3 to trade off this bishop to castle, because he's never gonna castle. He's never gonna castle long here with these pawns. That would be suicidal. Anyways, yeah. So that's why I took with the bishop, and then he went bishop d3. So this move has two purposes. It reinforces f4, and it prepares. No, this move only reinforces f5. Sorry, f5. So I castled here, and I figured if he goes here, the pawn hangs. So let's say if he goes here, then I would just play take, and then take. I can take with either, so I'd be up a pawn here. I'd probably take with the bishop, because the bishop gets out of the pawn chain, yeah. But then here he went queen e2, which here queen e2 I saw two ideas behind queen e2. So first, it defends the e5 pawn. So now on f4, the pawn isn't actually hanging. And what queen e2 also does is it prepares bishop e3 to prepare castling. So I went queen c7 basically with the computer deems an inaccuracy. I'm not sure why white is much better here. But the idea behind queen c7 was to, if white goes c4, well, once again, I win a clean pawn. So after queen c7, the top computer move is actually g4, and the computer wants white to castle long and go for an attack. So I guess queen g7 is an inaccuracy because I get away from the defense of my king. And yeah, this looks pretty terrifying for black with all the heavy pieces coming to the eventually open files. So yeah, so this would have been scary if my opponent saw this, but he didn't. He went bishop e3, which is a blunder. And the reason this is a blunder is I thought I had a fork here, but this doesn't actually work because he has knight b5. And I'm forced to move the queen, and then let's say I move here, then he can just move the bishop and nothing hangs. This still looks pleasant, but in the game he just took my pawn, and I was just up a piece here. And now it looks like white is winning back the piece, but I'm not, because after knight f5 and g4, so basically he was threatening checkmate, and now with g4, if I move the knight, yeah, I get mated, so I can't move the knight. But here I have the intermezzo knight c5, where now the queen has to move, and after the queen moves, I can simply drop the knight back, and the queen can't stay on the light square diagonal. So he played queen e2, and then I just took the bishop. He took back with the queen, and I went knight e7, and here I'm just up a clean piece against a almost 2200, and he has 2 minutes on the clock. I have 6 minutes on the clock. And then my opponent long castled, and I went knight c6, and my idea with knight c6 was rook d8, and I just wanted to trade pieces, but I should have really just gone to d5 right away, just neutralizing the file, but doesn't. Oh yeah, I should have just gone to d5, because after this, I can simply take here. And rook d8's on the way, I'm up a piece, position looks fantastic here. But what I played is fine, but I did give him this knight b5 move, and then here my queen's attacked, so I have to move my queen, so I decided to go, I was debating between queen e7 or queen b6, and I ended up deciding on queen b6, because I liked staying on this diagonal. If the queen ever moves, I'd have this check, picking up the pawn, so I just like staying on this diagonal, and also just kind of pressuring more things. This move just felt more right, this move felt more passive, yeah. And here he went h4, so just going all out. I played rook d8, I continued with my plan. He played knight d6. So yeah, so here I spent a lot of time here. So after queen b6, I spent like almost a minute and a half on moving my queen. Then he went h4, and I spent a lot of time. And actually, here, yeah, I spent a lot of time on this move because I saw that the knight was coming here, and then I had to find a plan to eventually evict the knight. And so my plan was pretty simple. I was actually going to play bishop d7 and knight c8 to challenge the knight, but that's not what ended up happening because my opponent went g5. I then went h5, just not allowing any files to open up. And now if he goes queen g3, I just go g6. But my opponent played rook dg1, so maybe preparing g6. I just played g6 myself. Then he played queen e2, and here I played oh yes, so with g5, now this actually helps my plan because I don't have to play this. I can just go to f5, and I'm also threatening to force a queen trade, which would be horrible for him because I'm up a piece, and I'm threatening to win a pawn here. So he went back with the knight, and then I forced a queen trade. And then here I'm up a piece against a 2200. I have 3 minutes on the clock. He had 1 minute, so up 2 minutes on the clock. He did berserk though. This was a tournament game, so he had berserked. But he went knight f5 here, and I didn't have time to move. He resigned before I could move. But yeah, so basically this is the highest rated opponent I've ever beaten. I was really happy with this game. I gained 11 rating points. Thank you guys for sticking around. I'll see you guys next time.